Hey guys, welcome to Emerging Alternatives. Today we're going to do a massive Q&A with all the questions that you guys asked me in the comments, and I'll try to be as descriptive as I can. There's going to be some short questions which I will answer directly at the beginning, and then we'll move on to longer questions and I'll take you around in the van so you can see how everything works. Alright, let's set up everything first and then move on to the Q&A. All right, shall we get started? Welcome to the Q&A, guys. Today I will answer some questions that I got in the comments from you guys. We will start with some short questions that I will do right here, and then I'll take you on a tour inside the van. Do check out the timestamps below. I've put that in the description so you don't have to go through everything. If you have a question in mind, go check out if it's in the timestamp and watch it from here. All right, let's get started. First question that we had was how tall are you? And that's in regards to the head space in the van. And I'm 6 feet tall, and that was barely enough space to stand up properly in the van. If I do stand up very straight, I touch the ceiling. But I guess, yeah, around 6 feet is kind of a maximum with that kind of insulation. If you take all the insulation out and the flooring out, there's more space, obviously. So it depends on your build, to be honest. But around 6 feet, I think, with insulation is kind of a maximum. Another question that I had was the make of the van, and that is a Renault Master. It's from 2007. It has about 200,000 kilometers, a little more now, and well, it's red, as you can see. That's actually its name, so yeah, that's a question that didn't come up, but yeah, the name of the van is red. Easy enough. All right, next question is, what's the weight of the van? And with all the wood that you added in there. And there's a fair bit of wood, I'll give you that. And I could have done it probably without the wood on the side panels, because there was some panels already on top of the insulation. It's because just painting it would have been a little bland, and I kind of like the look of the wood and the strips of wood, of the pallet wood inside the van. It's more heavy, but I have no idea how much wood was added in there. So if I had to take a guess, I'd say maybe a couple hundred kilograms. But yeah, it's not, I mean, it's not massive. It is a fair bit of wood, but it's not like an incredible amount. Nothing that the van isn't built to support. And yeah, it brings us on to the next question, which is fuel consumption. I was using about 8.5 liters per 100 kilometers when it was empty. And now I'm around 10-11 liters per 100 kilometers. I think it goes from something like 29 miles per gallon to like something like 22, something in US, something like that. Next question is, what kind of mattress did you get? I've recycled most of the things inside the van, and the wood is reclaimed. I just bought the wood for the ceiling and the doors, and same for the mattress. The mattress is an old mattress from my student bed that I had. It's a little on the heavy side, so it's hard to move around, like when I'm going from sofa to bed. So sometimes it's a little tricky, but I'll get the hang of it. The more I do it, the better it's gonna get. Another frequent one was, where do you park your van? And well, I'm in the middle of nowhere, pretty much, right now in the south of France, middle of nature. So I would say if you're traveling off-season, you can pretty much go everywhere in Europe. If you're traveling during the tourist season, check out online on some forums. There's a lot of people going on holidays in RVs, and there's a lot of tips on where to park and where you're allowed to park and what you're allowed to do. Another one was more of a suggestion, but it was about the hole in the roof for the ventilation. And yes, a hole saw would have been a whole lot easier. But I didn't have one, so I just, found a way. If you can buy a hole saw to do that, it would be a lot better. And we will move on to the last of the short questions, and it is one that I think many of you have wondered about, and it is, what about the shower and what about the toilet? And the answer to that is quite simple. I don't have toilets in my van and I don't have a shower in my van. And the reason for that is because I'm in Europe, and Europe is fairly small, guys. And once you start looking for toilets here, they are everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And for showers, there are a lot of campsites out there, so it's quite easy to find as well. But there are also swimming pools in every medium-sized city. So it's pretty easy to find a swimming pool to go to. It's really cheap as well, so I can just go swim and then take a nice shower. And that's a good reason to get back to sports, because I haven't done much since I stopped cycling. Okay, that's it for the short questions, guys. Now let's move on to the longer ones. Check out in the description for the timestamps. All good? Let's go. Boom, and we're on the GoPro now, and we'll start with the electrical, so on the inside. All right, and we will start with the panel right here, which is where my charge controller is, as well as USB charging and 12-volt charging that I use for my computer. And yes, I do have a 12-volt car adapter for my computer. You can find that online. Just make sure you get enough wattage to charge your computer properly, otherwise it's going to heat up a lot. And mine being pretty big, it's I can only charge it while it's turned off, so that kind of sucks, but hey. Okay, moving on. Okay, so we're inside. This is my electrical mess. And well, it's not a mess, it is organized. Let's have a closer look at how my setup is. I have the cables from the ceiling coming down there. So those are the cables coming from the solar panels, and as well for the lights and everything, that for all the lights and the air extraction, everything goes through here. And over here, from there it moves on to this, which is the charge controller. And from there moves on to the battery, which is right here. Then goes back to the charge controller, which distributes through the fuse box here. And I have installed a switch here so that I can turn off everything while I'm not in the van. So there's no electricity going anywhere except to the battery when that is switched off. So it is pretty useful. It's a rather standard and simple way of installing everything. This over here is the minus, all those are the plus, and yeah, that's it. So that is off. Let's put it on and close it back. Everything is on right now. Let's put the ventilation on as well. It's gonna make a little bit of noise, and I'm using 4.5 amp hour with everything on, so it isn't yeah, I'm not using that much energy with just the light and the vent. If I am charging my computer or my phone on top of that, then I will get into the battery. But mostly during the day, I mean, I don't need the LEDs to be super bright. I don't need those ones to be on. It's mostly for the evening, so I can charge anything during the day, and during the night those will go directly and take from the battery. The battery is a 100 amp hour battery, so the goal is to not use more than a quarter or a third. It depends on how long you want the battery to last, but let's take a third. So I can use 33 amp hour per charge of the battery, plus whatever the solar panels produce during the day. So it is pretty alright. I can live with that. Alright, and there was a few questions as well about the roof, so let's get to that. And we will start with the solar panels. And there was a good suggestion in the comments. And yes, the solar panels do heat up in summer, and it is a lot better if you can leave a gap so the air can flow underneath, so it cools them down. Because the hotter they get and the less efficient they'll become. So it's better to have an airflow under the solar panels when you build your van or even at home. But the main reason for me to install them like that was because that setup with 200 watt of solar panels, so that's each one is 100 watts. So I planned my setup mostly for winter, so I can use the van and have enough energy for my camera and computer during winter. In summer, when it's sunny and when the days are longer, I should be able to charge the battery with one solar panel. So even if they do warm up and get less efficient, I will have enough energy to recharge my batteries and my computer. So that's enough. And there was another question as well about flexible solar panels. And well, those ones are hard solar panels. They're really durable. So it means that there's a special glass on top that is made. And if there's hailstones or branches or anything, they won't get damaged. Here they're a little dirty, for instance, but I can just clean them up and they're good as new. If you do have flexible solar panels, and for instance they're really dirty like that, there's dust and things like that, and you scrape it off, and one time after the other they're gonna get scratched and a little scratched and a little scratched, and if there's hailstones as well, they're gonna get damaged. And the problem is that when they do get scratched, they don't work as well. They do work very well when they're new. It's really handy to put on the roof, but if you do have the space, I wouldn't use the flexible solar panels because they will get damaged after a while. And those ones are made in Germany and they're pretty good quality. I didn't want to get anything from China. There are some good brands in China. They do make some good solar panels, but there is a lot of bad deals as well. So German made, yeah. So yeah, that's it for the solar panels for me, guys. And another question was about the boards and the fact that they will move with time. And yes, they will. And it's better to spread them. As you can see over here, they are spread quite a bit, and it gets lower and lower and lower. And over here, they are quite close to one another. And yep, it's not the best, but because they're not straight. In some of the parts there is more gap, in some of the parts there is like a very tiny gap. I'll see how it does, and if they do move with like humidity and everything, I'll replace or spread them a little more. But frankly, I would need to take everything apart to change that. But having been treated with the fire, they are more resistant to water, so they should move less, I hope. If you do build a deck like that, do leave more space than I did, because there's a good chance that your boards will move over time. So with this one, I guess we'll see. So in between the roof and the ceiling, there is a gap, and that's pretty handy for summer. So yeah, the air can flow in between there, and that gives me less heat coming through the ceiling. So it's less work for my insulation there, and it keeps the temperature overall cooler in the van. And that is just on paper, because I haven't been in the van in summer yet. So we'll see, I guess. And the next question was, how do you screw on the wood, and does it get through the body of the car? And on the sides, they are screwed into the side panel, and then there is the layer of insulation, and then you would have the body of the car. So you can see the thickness here, but yeah, it is pretty thick, so you just have to make sure that your screws aren't too long, and you should be fine. But on the doors and on the back, it is a little different, because I don't have side panels, so I screwed in directly onto the body of the car, and as you can see here, it's into the metal. So the doors have a thickness as well, to allow all the cables and all the electricity for the lights and all the system to open the doors. So they have a fair bit of thickness to it, and you can use shorter screws, position the board, then drill a small hole, very small hole, to go through the wood and the metal, and that very small hole in the metal will allow the screw to pass through and grip on it. So just be careful not to drill a hole that is bigger or even the same size as the screw, because this thread from the screw won't catch the metal. But if you drill a tiny hole, then the screw will catch, and that's how I put the side panels on. And also a question, which wasn't really a question, just saying that the Reflectix was pretty much useless on the floor. When you see the van build, there's a layer of Reflectix in there. So it's polystyrene, then there's Reflectix, and then there's the plywood. Mostly the Reflectix, which is this, help to prevent the plywood from destroying the polystyrene if the boards move a little bit, because obviously nothing is completely fixed. So it helps a lot with making a little mattress for the boards, so they don't damage anything. And it's also important because the Reflectix that you see here, as you can see, it goes up, and the reason for that is because on the sides I've used multi-layer that goes all around, and I've attached that multi-layer on the bottom to the Reflectix, and that helps create like a seal of the insulation, and the more it's sealed, the less moisture gets into it, and the better insulation you have. Dry air is the best insulation you can have. So that was the goal for the insulation on the floor, which wasn't really to insulate, but mostly to create a vapor barrier, and as well to help as a cushion between the plywood and the polystyrene. Another question was about the air extraction, and as you can see on my van, I have some air extractions on the outside. They were already installed when I bought the van, and I have another one right here on the back door, and you can see it in the van build. I've closed those ones, and the reason for that is that if I didn't, I would have had to cut a hole right here, and the same on the back for the air to flow in and out. And because I have the windows, I decided that it was easier to just open a window rather than having the hole cut here. So I guess airflow is quite important in a van, so you don't have too much moisture on the morning. This is the south of France, so it's pretty dry out here, but nevertheless, if you don't have an airflow, you're going to have some condensation on your windows, and that isn't very good. But if you're building your own van, do give a thought about airflow in the van, and usually you have to have one at the bottom and one on the opposite side of the van, which is higher up, and that creates an airflow in the van. So it's not just about how to do the van like I did, because I've done some mistakes and I've done a lot of them knowingly, but it's more about finding what works for you and giving a thought about whether or not you want to do something one way or another. So that was my choice, to block the air extraction, and I might change my mind in the future, but for now it's like that. A rather funny one was about safety, I guess, and the importance to be able to go from the back side to the driving side. And I guess it is important if something happens in the van and you don't want to run out and get back on the other side, and there is enough space here. So it's not that big, but clearly that there is enough space for me to jump through, and if I really had to, I could just go that way and just start driving. I didn't take a seat off especially and everything, just to be able to have an opening. I'd rather have it closed, and that wall is insulated. I haven't talked about that anywhere, but that wall is insulated as well, and you can see there's a cushion of insulation in here as well. So those windows aren't tinted at all, so you can see through them very easily. I will leave them as they are, and at night, I've shown you in the van tour video, I have some boards that I can put here, and for safety, I am working on something to attach the board on each corner, so it's not moving anywhere. And when I leave the van, I'll put them on, so if someone wants to break in the van, they'll have to break the window and then break the board and then get into the van. So it doesn't make it much safer, but a tiny bit safer just means that someone will get discouraged, and if they can't see inside the van, if they have no idea what it is, then they might just not break in. So no tinted windows in the van. And I wanted to talk to you about that in the van build video, but I figured it was long enough, so it's in the Q&A, and it's about the heating system. So how do you keep warm in winter? And I said I had a little tip, and it's pretty simple. All right, that's it. So that's a simple old-fashioned pressure cooker, and that holds, I think, about 5-6 liters. Remember how it works? So I can bring the water in there to about 118 degrees Celsius. I have no idea in Fahrenheit, but that is above boiling temperature for water in a normal pressured environment. But because it's in there, I can bring it higher. And the pressure cooker is pretty thick to keep the pressure, of course, and it also keeps the heat pretty well. So once you have 6 liters of water at 118 degrees, you can just turn off the gas and put it on the floor when the bed is open at night, for instance, and the heat will just go over here through like all the kitchen stuff and then go around the rest of the van. It takes a while to cool down, so it's like a big water bottle, but for the van. Instead of having it in your bed, you have it in your van. And why use water? I've researched that a little bit because at first I wanted to put some oil in there and thought I could bring the oil to like 200 degrees and that would be, you know, warmer. So that would mean more energy, and it doesn't actually mean more energy. Water has the capacity to store about twice as much energy as oil. So when you warm up 1 liter of water to 100 degrees, it stores as much energy as 1 liter of oil at 200 degrees. So that is pretty good. Water is actually one of the best material you can find in terms of energy storage. A water bottle for the van is my little tip and simple solution to stay warm in winter. Yeah, pretty good. You happy with that? I've seen some stuff with like clay pots and candles and everything, and I don't really want to have a flame burning in the van while I'm sleeping, even if it's surrounded by a clay pot and sand and whatever you want. I think when you go to bed, you just want to turn off the gas, turn off any flames, and just sleep knowing that, you know, you're not gonna die because there's no more oxygen in the van, or you're not gonna die because it just burns. So I'd rather have that, which I haven't seen anywhere else yet. So if you do have a pressure cooker, try it out in your van. Tell me what you think about it. I bet it's like a big water bottle for your van. So yeah, good little trick. And that concludes the van build series. So we had the first video was the van build, then the van tour, and now the Q&A. And I hope that you guys enjoyed the content. I hope it was useful for you guys who are trying to start your own build, or maybe to inspire you to do your own build. And I'll be happy to answer any questions from you guys coming up. So do leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell for notification, give it a thumbs up if you feel like it, and I'll see you soon on Emerging Alternatives. See you guys, bye! And a little extra video, I wanted to show you guys what the inside look like when it's dark. So there you go, that's only lit up by the lights inside the van. So that's what it looks like. So if you still have questions about the van build, do leave them in the comments. I'm super happy to share the build with you guys. That's it for me. See you.